All right, looks like we are now live. And I'm Jacob with MarketingPlayBook.co. And today we're going to be covering Marketing 101. In last week's hangout, we talked a little bit about creating email lists as well as uh, targeting particular custom audiences. And email being a great way of reaching back out to those who have already signed up for your list. Therefore, you're able to build that relationship. And kind of building upon that, we're going to be talking about remarketing today. And remarketing can be a very, very powerful thing to do, especially for any business, big or small. And you're going to find that not only last week we mentioned how email was generally the highest ROI, had the highest ROI possible for most companies out there. And that's because once they pay for that user to be on the list, they're able to remarket to them over and over and over again. And if you're able to find those people who are interested in your product and your service, they're going to buy from you time and time again, especially as you establish yourself as an authority in the field. Well, the next most profitable way of making money online is going to be to remarket. And so it's not uncommon for me to have, let's say on an AdWords display campaign, a lead generation display, I might have a campaign that I'm able to get 10% conversion rate off of, right? And in getting past that though, usually it's really, really hard to do. However, if I add in a remarketing campaign, basically those who have already come to my website before, it's a custom audience, and then I remarket to that custom audience that I created, people who've already visited my site before, then I'm able to get, a 30% conversion rate out of it. So it's something that everybody should be taking advantage of and definitely doing. And so let's go ahead and start off by saying, what is remarketing? And so remarketing is known as, also known as retargeting. It is simply marketing to a custom audience. So an audience that you have defined, and you're remarketing to them via many different ways. It could be via search ads, display ads. Basically, if somebody comes to your website, and let's say they go to your dog training website or your dog toy website, and they land on it, you're able to follow that person along around on the web. And so as they leave your website and they go to CNN or they go to another news site, you're able to still have your ad show to that individual because they were already on your site. So is what you're doing really for remarketing. All remarketing is taking a custom audience that you defined and then advertising to that custom audience that you defined. And really, I think that's a point that confuses a lot of people out there. When they think of remarketing, they try to make it into something more than what it is. All it is a custom audience that you defined and advertising to that custom audience. And that can be really, really powerful. And so I've already described out what type of people and how and some other aspects of just trying to drive that point home of why it can be so profitable. Is if you have somebody who lands on your website and they go to the checkout page, for instance, but they don't actually follow through on the checkout. They added items into the cart, so clearly they're interested in the items, and they didn't check out. Well, they might not have checked out because they're going to say, okay, I'm going to price search, or just right now I don't want to do it. Well, you're able to basically recapture that individual by remarketing to them and try to get them back into your checkout again to finish checking out that product, because clearly they kind of wanted it because they added it to their cart, right? So you're able to remarket to people and create those type of custom audiences. So just a custom audience for people who went to that checkout page, or combine it with, okay, people who have visited ABC page and the checkout page. So my dog toy page as well as the checkout page, both of those. And you're able to mix and match and basically define these audiences as much as you want. And that's something that's really cool about today's world that wasn't available, especially to small businesses. Just a number of years ago, it was a lot harder to create all these custom combinations of websites, but places like AdWords and Facebook have made it a lot easier to do. So we'll take a look at AdWords more in depth today than anything else. And we'll kind of go in and for those who are watching here who have seen all my other videos, this is a different background that we have going on today. I moved my office to a different section of the house. So it's a new setup. I'm liking it. I have a lot more room here, but as you can see from all the boxes and everything set up back there, I didn't really set it all up, and I decided, hey, I'm still going to do the Hangout. I don't really care. I'd rather hang out with you than finish putting the office together. So, all right, we defined what remarketing is, and like I said, I'm going to focus more, keep this a 20-minute hangout more for remarketing on AdWords. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Have the chat up now. And if you're coming across this as a recording on YouTube or a recording on the MarketingPlayBook.co website, we do a live hangout every Wednesday at 2 p.m. I should have started the show off like that, but I didn't. And during the live hangouts, I basically cover just marketing news in general, with the slant toward small businesses and a slant toward service-based industries. All right, so carrying on. So remarketing on AdWords, and there's dozens of different ways to remarket on AdWords and creating up those custom audiences. And so you can really mix and match. And the other thing with AdWords and why I recommend it to most people is going to be because it has some of the widest reach out there. Not only can you remarket on the search end, but you can also remarket on the display end. When you're remarketing on search, you have the ability of actually capturing more user intent. And when you're marketing on display, there's just, it can be cheap, really cheap to do when you're remarketing on display. And you're also there branding yourself a little bit too. And AdWords display reaches something like 90% of all internet users out there. So it's just crazy amount. And right now with AdWords, for instance, you can do special bid adjusting for mobile. So you can increase your mobile bids or decrease your mobile bids by doing a bid adjustment there. But pretty soon you're going to be able to do that on tablets too as well. And it's been a big bane for a lot of e-commerce companies out there. Not so much service-based industry. Service-based industries seem to do fairly well with the tablets and generating leads and phone calls and the like. But when it comes to e-commerce and people actually purchasing, they don't really purchase on their tablets. On the tablets, they browse. So consumer habits just haven't changed there a lot. So pretty soon you're going to be able to bid adjust there on tablets too. And that's kind of getting outside the scope of remarketing. So let's go back to remarketing. That's why I have notes, so that to keep me on track here. And if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. So defining your custom audiences. And the first thing you need to do before you set up any remarketing is to actually define the custom audience. So these are the people you're going to be remarketing to, aka retargeting, right? You need to define that custom audience. So this might look, like people who visited your entire website. So all visitors who go to my website, you can create an audience and say, okay, I want an audience and I want that audience to last for 30 days. And so I'm going to set up a campaign that's going to retarget and remarket to every person who's visited my website in the last 30 days. And boom, there you go. There's your targeting and your custom audience. And you can do it where it's a specific page. So somebody who goes to your dog toy page, all right? So anybody who goes to my dog toy page, add them to my custom list. And now you can, that's your custom audiences, just those who visit the dog toy page. You can set that at 30 days, 40 days, 180 days. And then you can also do it where, okay, just remarket to people who have gone to the checkout page. And there, if they're already at the checkout page, chances are that person's far more along in the buying cycle. So you might be able to pay a lot more for that user. And so, you know what, I'm going to remarket to this person for 50 days, or I'm going to remarket to this person just for 7 days, but I'm going to up my bid a lot. And so instead of paying, a CPC of 30 or 40 cents, I might be willing to pay $1 or $2 a click, because I'm only going to be marketing to that people who visited my checkout page for the next 7 days. And so I really want to be aggressive trying to get that person back. And so it's a lot of feeling around for what might work. And you can also do it with multiple pages. So when you create your custom audience, and you do that inside AdWords, on the bottom left, there's a shared library. Under shared library, you have your audiences, and you can go in there and create your custom audiences. And you can define these audiences just inside there. And it's really easy to put that snippet of code on your website and on those particular pages. So this is also one reason why I highly recommend, when you do remarketing and set it up, to actually use Google Tags. And I have a list, a URL going to the Google Tags website. And with Google Tags, what you're able to do is you're able to put one tab on your website, and you can sync that with your analytics account, and ultimately combine that with your AdWords account. What you're able to do there is it's a JavaScript code that's put onto your website. Now that code's there on your website, now within Google Tags, you can go in and you can define all of these paths and funnels, and you can create some really, really complicated funnels inside Google Tags without having to re-edit any of the code on your website. So you just put this one little bit of code on your website throughout the entire site, and generally in a template or a footer of some kind. And now you don't ever have to mess with that code. Now it's just a matter of AdWords tweaking that automatically for you based upon what you enter into Google Tags, which is pretty cool stuff. And you don't have to go that route, but it's one thing I would recommend, and I plan on doing eventually here, probably a hangout or at least a lesson on how to do Google Tags, just because it's pretty cool what you can do with Google Tags, and I don't think a lot of people take full advantage of it there. So another form of remarketing that you can do is called dynamic remarketing. And this works best too on Facebook, especially for e-commerce websites. And with dynamic remarketing, is what you're doing is like I said, this works best for e-commerce sites. If you're a service-based industry, this probably really isn't for you. So dynamic remarketing is simply AdWords taking over or Facebook taking over your remarketing. And so if somebody goes to your website and they visit a particular product page, so they're visiting a Ring dog chew toy, pink. And now that the person's visited that specific product page and they leave, you can have it set up to where AdWords is automatically going to create an ad kind of at your behest, and you can define what the outline is for this ad, and you have it set up so as this person's going across the web after they leave your website, they're going to see that ad following them around for that pink Ring dog chew toy, and it's a great way of reaching people who specifically viewed a product on your page without you having to set up some super complicated funnels. Now, it can be a little complicated at first to set up dynamic remarketing. It is something that can be challenging, especially for a small business out there. We do have some documentation on the MarketingPlayBook.co website on it, and you can also join a hangout and ask if you have any questions regarding that, or if you want that to be a topic show unto itself. There's a possibility of us doing that. But with dynamic remarketing, it's great to easily set up, once it is set up, to easily remarket to anybody. And if you've ever purchased off of Amazon and left the website without making a purchase, you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to that particular product following you around everywhere you go. And Amazon does a fantastic job of that, as well as numerous other companies out there. But Amazon's probably the king of remarketing, and they were one of the first in the field to really go after this. So moving right along here, we're good question-wise. So we have remarketing to those audiences, set up remarketing on Facebook. Yes. So when you're remarketing on Facebook, it's almost a different strategy for a lot of people. And this will go back to, I'll refer back to a hangout we did on content strategies. And with Facebook, yes, I definitely would recommend remarket products and services and do dynamic remarketing on Facebook. But I found that for a lot of people, Facebook with remarketing doesn't necessarily work as well as it does on AdWords, at least not for me and the people that I've helped out a lot with. But it is a great opportunity to help brand yourself and get yourself in front of those potential customers. And you can do that through content marketing. So you're able to push content that you've developed that establishes yourself as a market leader and as an authority in your industry and niche. as somebody who's there to help, as somebody who's there to educate, and you establish that type of authority there. And from that, you're able to help build loyalty from potential customers and current customers. So with Facebook, I do recommend using Facebook for remarketing for current customers as well as potential customers. But think of it more as a longer term content strategy than just going out and making the sale initially up front. It can be a lot harder. Now it's different if you're already making sales. If you're driving PPC traffic directly from Facebook and you're making quite a bit of sales, I definitely still recommend, yeah, of course, pitch your products and your services. But with Facebook, oftentimes going that direct route doesn't work as well. So just keep that in mind. Always split test, always try it out and see, hey, you never know, it might go gangbusters for you. And if it does, fantastic. If not, then hey, I might have to rethink about this and use it more as a content strategy. So content strategy can be part of your remarketing goal. So you don't just have to push your product or your service. You can push educational type content and content that you've written that establishes yourself as an authority. So just keep that in mind, especially if you're a service-based industry. You're that plumber. Somebody may go to your website and you think, well, why remarket to them? They're just going to call somebody else, or clearly they would have called me if they wanted me. Well, they may have just been perusing and they're not ready for a plumber. But now that they know who you are, you can keep yourself in front of them, because chances are they still might need a plumber. And even if they don't at this point in time, if you establish yourself as an authority, especially a local authority, then they're more likely to recommend you out to other people. If they never did hire a plumber, but they hear about plumber issues and this and that, like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. I see his content once a month, from Facebook. So they're going to remember who you are. It's kind of like having that fridge magnet. And so it's a great way of really using remarketing, not necessarily to sell yourself up front, but more on the back end. So definitely that's how I recommend a lot of people take advantage of the Facebook remarketing, especially if they're not an e-commerce based company, integrated as part of your content strategy. So moving on. So we have RLSA, remarketing list, which is remarketing list for search ads. And this is kind of like the hot buzz term. You hear a lot of people talking about RLSA. And I have a link to go into Google to kind of describe it a bit more in detail. And really, this is a great way to remarket to people based upon them actively searching and in buy mode. So RLL, remarketing list for search ads, are you remarketing on AdWords search to people who have already visited your website. So an example might be this: a person visits your website and goes to your home page, and then a dog toy page, and then checkout page. Well, I can create custom audiences for all of those actions if I wanted. I can define three different custom audiences there. One for just the website visit as a whole, and I might target different ads to those people, or just the dog toy pages, or just the checkout page, or all three, or a combination of all three. But let's just keep it simple. Let's just say it was just the dog toy page that we created our custom audience with. Well, now is what we can do is we can create a search campaign and a search only campaign, and put in keywords, bid on a broad keyword of something like dog or pet. Now you might think, well, wait a second. I can't bid on a broad keyword of dog, because if I bid on the broad keyword of dog, you have no idea what the person's searching for. And that is true. But guess what? A lot of people aren't bidding on the broad keyword of dog. And they're not doing so just for that reason, because they don't know, what's it going to trigger. They have no idea, because they're not going to be able to make money off of it. But you're different. And you're different because now you're remarketing to people who have already went to your website and have already viewed your page about dog toys, which is pretty cool. So you already know that they're interested in the dog toys. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been on your site in the first place. I hope not, anyways. And so they're there, and they're doing a search on Google, and they could be doing a search, for anything. How come my dog has bad gas? my pet did something funny. Who knows? So if you're bidding on dog, your ad will show up. Your ad will show up for that, and people will be like, "Oh wow, I've been to this website before. I know who these people are." And it's just a way of reaching back out to them, saying, "Hey, we're still here. If you want to, buy from us." So RLSA is that, and it's a way of being able to get some really really cheap clicks, because you can put in super broad terms, and this is the key to make an RLSA work for you. It's not about those high CPC ads, and that's where I see some people making a mistake when they think of doing remarketing with search ads. They're keeping the same keywords they were before with it that are really competitive, and that could work because you're remarketing to people who've already visited your website, but it's you want to find the cheapest way of bringing those people back in, and so being able to bid on keywords just like toy or dog, that's broad, is a great way of doing that. So down the pipeline too, and this is something coming out with that you'll be able to do pretty soon, is be able to create lists of people performing search actions on Google without them even having to go to your website. So basically, is what you're going to do is you're going to be able to do search marketing lists based upon a user's search. So if they searched dog toys but never went to your website, you can still have a custom audience created for that person who did that type of search, providing, and I'm sure AdWords hasn't worked it all out yet. It won't be available till late 2016, early 2017, might even be later than that, because there's a lot of privacy issues that they have to work out and make sure that things aren't personally identifiable, and they don't want to step on their users' toes. And their users' toes are people who are doing searches. So they got to make sure that all those safeguards are in place first. But once it is out there and it is working, you're going to be able to create all these lists based upon what people have searched, which is fantastic, because you'll be able to target the individuals in a way that you currently can't today. Now, the only thing that comes close to doing that, and this is similar to remarketing, and that's going to be affinity groups and in-market audience groups, which we've talked about in our AdWords display course. And with in-market audiences, you're targeting to people who Google has already determined to be in the market for that product or service. So if somebody's going around and they're looking for lipstick, and they go to multiple lipstick sites and they visit and they do a search for lipstick and best lipstick, then AdWords can identify that person, say, okay, this person's in market for beauty products and in market for skincare products. And you're able to market to people who Google has identified to be in that group. So that's kind of similar already to being able to build your own custom remarketing groups. So in-market audiences are a great way of targeting to already built custom audiences defined by Google. So if you haven't used a remarketing list before for in-market audiences, I'd recommend trying that, because it can work pretty good. And that would be on the AdWords display end of things. And going back to AdWords display, which we haven't talked, I've talked a little bit about search, and I've talked about remarketing in general, and most of the remarketing that happens on the display network. And AdWords display reaches about 90% of the internet users in the world, so it's pretty big. And with the AdWords display ads, that's how you're pretty much remarketing for the most part. And so people visit your website, visit your dog toy page, you create custom audiences for that dog toy page, and now you're following that person around the web via multiple text ads or image-based ads that you have created. And that's just kind of how it works. And with that, you're able to also define those custom audiences a little bit more too as well. So if you have a custom audience and you're selling, let's say, a skincare product, well, you're able to take that skincare product and say, okay, well, these are people who've already visited my website and I want to market to them, but I also want to exclude known males. You can do that. Or you can say, oh, you know what, I only want to target to females. So you won't target to unknown people and males. So there's a lot of ways of combining your custom audience with other type of topics, which can be pretty useful. And I've had it where remarketing didn't work for a company. It just totally bombed for them. And they couldn't figure out why, and went in and looked at it, and it was working initially, and then it stopped. And there were multiple issues in there. One is they were targeting remarketing to people for 540 days. I think it was, maybe it was 340, I forget, on the display network, which, you might not want to remarket people that long. And the other thing that they were doing was they were just triggering on a lot of pages that just weren't relevant, which is fine. You're going to, when you remarket to custom audiences, you're not remarketing to those who are visiting those pages related to your topic. You're following them, so they could be anywhere on any page containing any topic. Well, with custom audiences, you can combine that. You can layer it and say, okay, I want to show my ad to people who visited my dog toys page, but you know what? I only want to remarket to them. Let's say they've already bought from you. They're a customer of yours already, but I only want to remarket to them when they're on a page that contains keywords around the topic dogs, or around or just not even keywords. You can just target topics on dogs. That could be your target right there. So you're only targeting people when they're viewing those types of sites, and only when they're interacting with that type of content. So you have your custom audience who bought from you already, and so you already know who they are, which is fantastic. And now you're taking that and you're saying, okay, I'm going to remarket to the people who've already bought from me. They already know who I am. They're already a happy person, and I'm going to remarket to them about my latest dog toys or my latest offerings that I want to give them when they're looking at content related to what I'm selling. And so that can be really, really powerful, especially for e-commerce sites. If you're there and you sell bicyclist parts, if you're targeting to people as they're planning their vacations, so travel sites or something like that, it could be pretty powerful. And it's a great way of remarketing to your existing customers, or remarketing people who have visited your website. So there's a lot of things you can do with remarketing. So it's one of those, sit down, kind of write out and plan out what you want to do, and it can fit in well with your content strategy too as well. So that's something that a lot of people don't think of either on the AdWords display network, is pulling all your marketing channels together, and how do they interact and intertwine with each other. And you can deliver a pretty powerful message even as a really, really small mom and pop shop out there. And so it's a great way of going through things. So another thing that you can do with custom audiences, and this can be super powerful, and I'll say again, super powerful. And the way of doing that is a lookalike audience, as well as that's lookalike audiences is what it's called on Facebook. And then on AdWords, it's going to be called a similar to audience. And what they're both basically the same thing. Is what you're able to do is, let's say you have a list of all your converting customers, and you can tell Facebook and tell AdWords to say, hey, take this list of customers, find out what they all have in common, and then create me a list that looks like this, that's similar to this list. And so AdWords and Facebook will go out and they'll do that, and they'll look at all the metrics and thousands of data points that they have, and then they create your list. And your list could, that list they can create for you can be 50, 60, 70 times bigger than the list you already have. And you're able to remarket to those type of people. And that can be really, really powerful. And one big reason why creating your custom audiences you can leverage that. So if you're already having success creating your custom audiences and remarketing, then you can quadruple that by simply expanding out and creating lookalike audiences based upon that, lookalike audiences based upon people who have converted on your website, or based upon people who have taken certain action on your website. So it's a great way of going. And again, if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. There should be a chat box in there. And yeah, if it's there, if you have any questions on what I just said, feel free. Next up here, we're almost done, guys. And last thing really is tools and services out there for remarketing. And there's a lot out there. And a couple of the bigger boys in the field are going to be Perfect Audience and AdRoll, and both of those services are good. really, for most a lot of people out there, I recommend they get their feet wet themselves and try it out themselves, and try to see what's going in person, and set it up. That way you understand the funnel and you understand the process of what you're trying to do, and that'll help you ultimately be able to set better goals, and then be able to create measurements and plans of actions to achieve those goals. And really, that's what MarketingPlayBook.co is about helping you put together that game plan, and get that overall big picture to help you succeed with marketing online. And so those are services out there. They're good services. I won't knock them. But if I were you today, and if you already have, you're already driving some traffic to your website via paid ads, or SEO traffic, what I would do is I just create custom audiences using the Facebook pixels built in and the AdWords pixels, and so via Google tags, or something along those lines, and create your own custom audiences. Put the code in on your website yourself. Create your own audiences, and then remarket to those audiences yourself without using any of these specialized services out there. And that way you're going to fully understand the process. And once you start making money, fine, right? You can try to outsource it, or you can use one of these services. But off the bat, I just find that so many of them, it's just one more thing that you have to set up. It's just one more thing that you have to try to integrate into your overall system. And it seems that a lot of people it bleeds money for them, because it doesn't force you in any way to really create that plan of action that's needed. So that is going to be it for today. We should be good to go. Yeah, that's it. So if you want to contact us, you can go ahead and hit us up on MarketingPlayBook.co/connect. And there you're going to be able to be able to connect with us in all of our marketing channels that we have. You can tweet at us at marketing, so MKTG Playbook. So you can tweet there. If you have a direct question, you can tweet at us, or if you have suggestions for a show. Again, all this information is going to be on the Connect page, where we list we're starting a Facebook private group, which is going to be a precursor to a private forum that we're going to set up. So you can connect with us there and request access to the Facebook private group that is just now being set up. You can also connect to our Google community page, where you're going to get notifications when we do a live hangout, and as well as when we post new content. Well, some of the new content anyways. And then we have an email list that you can sign up for. And the email list is pretty cool, because we're going to let you know, hey, what the next topic is for the Google Hangout. That way you know whether you want to attend or not, as well as any new guides and insights that we have in the digital marketing world. So feel free and sign up there. And again, that's going to be MarketingPlayBook.co/connect. That's where we have all the information. And that's going to be it for today's hangout. No questions came in, so we are good to go. And I hope to see you next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Take care.